that whether there is any society which treats equally to girl and boy. That's one part. Second thing, why, whether it's only man who is doing this violence against the women. Are women not part of this same system which we are talking of, the sanctions or whatever permissions or the whether they are also part of it in different roles? Because the mother is there. If a mother discriminates between boy and girl, then that starts with the mother. It is nothing that father is saying you do like this. So what is the remedy to that? Because remedy has to be from the home. And when we are talking of domestic violence, the remedy has to be at home only. Here we are talking in an Indian context, home. If we talk in Western context, the concept of home itself is undergoing change. Here also it's getting changed. The traditional family, joint families and all that, in which so much support system was there, that's breaking. Now nucleus families are there. In some societies, the nucleus family itself is changing. We are talking of living relationship, we are talking of so many things, then there's no family at all. So that in that situation, when things are changing, and when the technology is enabling and connecting you with all people anywhere and in the world, how is that we can the law can cope with us with that system, and how we can fight that? It's a disease, it's a disorder, of course, but then how to fight it? Whether there is any consistent thinking process happening, whether there are concrete suggestions which can be implemented at the government level, at the NGO level, and at the individual level. It's a challenge for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharatlalji. I think very good input, and I've just made note of your questions. I think they come to number 9 questions, and I'll try to answer them one by one, but if there's anybody who wants to input, and I think one was on equality of women. We talk about equality of women, but it should really be an equality act, not only for women, but men only. I mean, there is, I can say on behalf of UK, because that's what I'm representing, and I know more about what's happening in UK. I mean, I'm aware about what's happening, what work is being done at other countries. But in UK, we are getting more cases now where men are coming forward who have been going through domestic abuse for quite a while. And the services have now opened up because men, you know, as you will all agree, that women have, we've been campaigning for women for quite a while, and they find it a little easier to come forward and talk about it, whilst with men, even though they're going through abuse, they will not come out because they find it's part of that, you know, social construction of gender, that we are men, we should not report. And so by the time they come into the system and report abuse, it is at that last stage, it's not at an earlier stage, and obviously support is available. Perhaps, have I got anybody here who can talk more about men? Would you like to have your input, please? Thank you.
I haven't got answers, but I've got a lot of observations along the way. I think one of the things we need to look at is media. I haven't going to talk about that. I think the way the world is in terms of how they expose women to being a sexual object, clothing, I mean, Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, advertising, I mean, that is reinforcing something continuously, no matter what happens to the family front. The fact that media is part of the family front now. And how do we address that? I mean, okay, that goes back to family too, yes, but that's a big, big part of how we identify ourselves as women and how men. The other observation I've sort of made along the way is, interestingly enough, I mean, as you were expressing, you know, when you went to the professor and you were a woman, I mean, he said, you're taking away 4 jobs from men. I mean, underlying that, there's resentment. Could that man gone home and bullied his wife that night because he was resentful the fact that you stood up? I mean, this is what I'm saying. Your act of being empowered and coming out actually could have impacted him, brought up his own lack of confidence as a man, as men, and gone home and acted out on his family, and you would have been part of that process, unknown to you. The point I'm trying to make also here is nowadays, yes, women are a lot more empowered. They go out there, they dress, they, you know, show their cleavage, they wear the short skirts, they stand up, they're in groups, And there's the man out there who looks at them and thinks, I want, but I can't have. They're intimidated by their strength. But what does he do? He suddenly feels helpless, useless, not a man. So he goes around the corner and finds a 6-year-old child and rapes her. That's how he claims his power back. That's how he claims his strength back. As twisted as it is. But what the woman who's standing up there in that doesn't realize, she's been part of that process. She's been part of that unknown to her. This is how everything affects everything. I'm not blaming, but we are part of everything. We are involved in everything. Our every action, even being empowerment. I mean, the woman nowadays is educated. She's at home, she's working, she's bringing the money. The husband's working, he brings in the money, he's doing everything, and he suddenly feels less than. And he then acts out in some way. Work is giving him pressure, he's under pressure. I mean, I'm an osteopath. I come from a more physiological point of view. I could talk to you about hormones, how things impact us, how the testosterone's high, how the cortisol level's high. When your cortisol levels are high under stress at work and your testosterone's high, well, then you know what? You will get aggressive. This is a fact. This is physiological. Forget the mental. This is physiological. It will make you act a particular way. And after you think, what the hell did I do? So it's physiological. It's not just... So how do we deal with this? Do we implement in family fronts, in life, how to reduce stress? It's not just about... You've got to bring in such a lot more than just looking at one thing in isolation. Exactly. It's a combination of lots of things.
I totally agree with you, because obviously it has to be a combination of all these things that needs to combine and connect to make sure that there is a holistic approach to it as well.
Exactly. And schools don't have that. We don't...
Just
Go ahead.
I just want to respond to a couple of those points. See, people who were gone through a gender training or, we all go through many isms, we get hooked to many isms. I'm one of those persons, feminism, for example, feminism, communism, every ism in the sun you want to explore. But at a particular point in life, you realize, with age comes wisdom, you realize, very often it's one way of looking at life. It doesn't give you the whole answer. That's where you say how one part of our behavior can affect others. The problem is when we did gender training, it's all over the world, we only targeted women. We never thought, feminists, you say they completely ignored men. For 20 years, we did a lot of work, but we didn't even want men to be in that conversation. We have done a very big mistake. So if you want to talking about equality, it's for both men and women. So it's not, so therefore you use the word power. And when men feel, whatever is the opposite of disempowered, and we have not given a substitute behavior for that. So today I would feel any gender training, it is men and women jointly doing, sitting together. So therefore we understand, have those dialogues, that is something very important. Also, I think it's about giving away for power for men. It is about, distributing the power at home. And sometimes there are women very powerful. That's why, you see also, you see a very powerful fathers. Children who are, I also, as I said, for many years I was practicing counseling, and I was running a home for, women who are abused in their home and otherwise. So and trying to see how we take them through the, justice mechanism. And very often I found there are no mechanisms at home, to have a dialogue about these things. So when only women are empowered and, you say that, you have all the power, we have not had the same dialogue with men about how do you share and distribute. Sometimes it's all, you see I come from Tamil Nadu, there is a culture, the girl would have become an engineer and she's now earning lots of money. For some reason, the boy has not done well in that family. But still, it is expected, the boy is expected to look after the parents. It's not seen, okay, I am economically well off, why not I contribute to my brother? It's not seen like that. It is so, therefore, many of the social practices, it doesn't look at through a lens of, both sharing and both contributing. Just my last point about who's responsible. Are men responsible for it? I would say socialization messages are going to both men and women equally, and we both contribute to the situation at home and outside. So therefore, if you want to find a solution, I think we both have to be in. The reason I'm saying we have to invest more in boys and men, because that dialogue has not been done for a long time. That is why I feel it's time we open up and we have discussions.
Thank you.
One just very quick thing. We have spoken about the home front. We've spoken about the education front. We've not spoken about the education front. Well, I had to fight for my daughter's school. She goes to a very premium school. And I said, I went up to the principal and I said, well, she's coming to 5th standard. And it's time we talk about how they are made, how the boys are and how the girls are. And we need to speak about what is abuse, what is a good touch, what's a bad touch, and both for boys and girls. So if my child invests 8 hours a day in her school, 8 hours a day, well, she's at home only for 3 hours, and that too so tired that she barely wants to study and sleep. So considering the 21st century and considering the next generation at least to evolve better than the previous generations, I think we should concentrate a lot on educating in school very openly, like a history subject or like a chemistry. I think this has to be spoken about. Spoken about as A's, you know. Nothing
Right.
else, yes.
And I would like to know more about what's happening within this country in terms of education, because in UK we have education classes and children are being tapped into. At an initial stage it's like in a gameplay, they talk about what it is, and as it gets older, a lot of further education takes place, and there are mobile applications, especially because now the cyber abuse is happening, you know, with targeting the younger ones, and how do we protect? I mean, one of the things we always sort of highlight and we talk about, what are the warning signs that you need to look out for when you see people? So when, even within the house, you don't realize it is abuse. It's like when you keep on criticizing somebody, you know, and without realizing, I think it's social construction of gender.
Spectrum is huge, yeah.
Yeah, like criticize, verbal abuse, you know, intimidation, harassment. We get people stalking you. I mean, it's happened here. I saw somebody was stalking somebody else. They've been stalking that person for the past 2 days, and we have observed it. And last night, we actually challenged the person, and they said, yeah, and it came out, you know. So it's amazing how you can pick up, like, keep noting, like there are threats that kept happening, punching in schools, kicking, pushing, you know, burning, like if you see those burning marks, the self-harm marks as well, slapping, rape obviously is the biggest one, and that is affecting. But what we really need to do is I think we all as an audience need to decide that we do not put up with it. Because what happens is, even with women, and I think I've talked to a number of ladies here while I've been here for the past few days, and some of them who have had to make a decision of leaving their family, they said it took them about 20 years, 25 years to finally move out of that relationship. So I asked one particular lady yesterday, I said, why did it take you so long? Because she said she went into an arranged marriage, and she was controlled throughout. She had 2 children, but was finding it very difficult to leave that relationship because she was financially dependent. And she said she almost gave up once. She committed suicide. She was saved. And it has been a difficult journey, but she's a very happy woman now because she realized